I'm Schizo Showdown, and I just broke out of the asylum to bring you this Good Time movie review. Good Time is a 2017 hyper-reality breakout hit by the Safdie brothers. More Josh than Benny, but we can get to that. It's this movie about this insane romantic psychopath who takes his Down syndrome brother, played by Benny, on an insane journey throughout New York City. It was filmed in all 5 boroughs, and it turns into a fluorescent nightmare of crime. Now, Good Time, it started as prison slang. That's where the title comes from. The time you serve that lets you get out early. And it's also, ironically, no one's having a good time in the movie. That's the joke of the movie, is everyone's actually having a terrible time. And they say it at the end.
You're gonna have a good time.
Here's something that Josh Safdie doesn't want you to know. It's based a lot on this movie Straight Time with Dustin Hoffman from 1974, which is very similar, and it's about a guy getting out of prison and then his life falling apart because he can't keep it together in normal society. And for some reason, he really plays that down.
Trivia note is that the mother was played by Rose Gregorio, who is an actress and the widow of Ula Grossbart, who made the movie Straight Time, which is, whatever, a little bit of an inspiration of this movie.
This was shot on a 35mm camera, so it's actual film. So you can call this a film, and it's fantastic, and that's part of the reason why I like it so much. And Marty Supreme's the same way, so is Uncut Gems. The Safdie brothers have this love of shooting on film, and it enhances the grainy, sweaty, visceral qualities of this movie. Well, you can tell, because so many digital movies nowadays just suck. They're terrible, and a big part of that is because you lose the essence of filmmaking. It took 37 days to film with this camera. And for those of you not in the know, that's insane. They were running like 18-hour days, double lunches. Robert Pattinson, who's a gooner, by the way.
You're a gooner though, Rob, right?
Uh-huh.
Josh, have you
What does a gooner mean?
Talked about how this was like the most intense shoot he's ever been a part of, and everyone else agreed. That's because the Safdies are just like insane, and they're one of the few kino directors still keeping filmmaking alive as an art form. The budget for this movie was $2.7 million in today's money, 2026 dollars, and it grossed $5.6 million. So Josh Safdie is able to craft this masterpiece, frankly, on an extremely low budget. It's considered generally $1 million. This is double that, but even so, we've all seen Marvel movies, they hit $1 billion. Okay, so this is quite the feat. The music and the lighting and everyone is busting their ass, and the raw talent of Josh and Benny, but really Josh shines through. Arguably the best aspect of this movie is the runtime. It's an hour and 41 minutes. If you're thinking about watching it or you haven't seen it in a while, go watch it again, because it doesn't take a long time to watch, and it's like a roller coaster. As soon as it hits and starts going, it just goes and goes and goes. It feels like 30 minutes. Movies, generally speaking, shouldn't be over 90 minutes, and this is the perfect example of that. You got no fat, no filler, just wham, 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 all tension all the time. You're in for a good time, okay? The poster, in and of itself, is kino and a work of art. It has Robert Pattinson like climbing out of a Sprite bottle, the infamous Sprite bottle with all the acid. I want to get it framed and put somewhere because it's phenomenal as far as movie posters go. It's just as trippy as the rest of the movie, and they should have used it more. They used the regular Good Time where sort of Robert Pattinson's dragging along Benny, and it's got the lines all over, but I hate that one compared to the acid one. And the trailers, this reminds me of Marty Supreme, because in Marty Supreme you think this is a movie about ping pong, but no, it's not a movie about ping pong. It's a movie about everything but ping pong. And the trailers for Good Time remind me of that, and that it makes it seem like it's this good, feel-good, movie about 2 brothers just like having a sort of love story. They sort of are fighting against the law and these outside forces. It's not like that at all. It's completely misleading, but that works because the movie is completely misleading. It's seductive, and then it smacks you across the face. It bitch slaps you. It reaches through the screen and does that. And the trailers are like the runway that leads to that bitch slap. Go watch the trailers first if you haven't seen it, and then watch the movie. This got nominated at Cannes for the Palme d'Or, the big award, and it won the movie soundtrack award, which should have. I'll get more into that later, but the score and the soundtrack done by 10 Tricks Point Never is fan-fucking-tastic. Outside of the directing, probably the best thing about the movie. I listen to it all the time. I'm going to be listening to it while I edit this movie. It's fantastic on its own, and Josh Safdie, when he first heard it, told 1-0 Point Never when they heard the initial score, he said, just make it sound more fucked up, and that's the perfect way to describe it. It's just like synth music that's super fucked up. Makes the tension ×5 in every scene that it's used in effectively. At Cannes, they fucking got a 6-minute standing ovation for this. I wish I could have been there. Hyper-reality, what is that? That's my term for the sort of Safdie brothers style. It's this like intense, gritty, it feels real, and the reason it feels so real is because the Safdie brothers have documentaries in their past that they've done before this and ones they've done after. They did Love Shaolin, which is about this cult from Colorado, shout out Colorado, that turns a lady blue. They know how to make things look real, and this really exemplifies that. You feel like you're really on this journey with Connie going through New York in the seedy, gritty underbelly, and it's sweaty. It's very sweaty and visceral. This is exemplified by scenes like Nick when he's in the prison and he's got cuts all over his face, okay? And the guard is yelling and he's telling the inmates to stop fighting, and Nick's freaking out and doesn't know what's going on, and they got sprayed with mace, and you could just feel the pain resonating through the screen. Benny Safdie, who, you know, unfortunately looks the part for Nick. That's what everyone kept saying is, oh, like, I didn't even know you were acting. A lot of backhand compliments with that. He did editing and sound. He was the boom operator for most of the movie, which also explains why his movie wasn't nearly as good as Marty Supreme, because Josh was clearly the talent out of the two. So it's just extremely visceral, and when he punches people and when Connie punches people, the violence just feels hyper-real, hyper-reality. I was watching a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff for this movie, and Josh Safdie kept calling it termite art, and I think that's the perfect category for what you would call these sort of hyper-reality genre of movies, is termite art. And that means this is art that when you watch it and you go home, it gives you termites that eat you away from the inside. It's the perfect way to describe all their movies. I haven't seen the movie before this, heaven knows what, but it's in a similar vein. A still from that movie was enough to convince Robert Pattinson to be in this movie. He saw that still and he emailed the Safdies and said, I'm willing to do anything to work on your next project, including just doing catering. And the Safdie brothers took that and ran with it, and that's how we got Good Time. Another aspect to this hyper-reality brand of gritty realism and cinema verite that the Safdie brothers, but really just Josh, have is that show, don't tell. They are the masters of this. You show everything. You can't watch this movie like you do so many others with your phone in your fucking hand, scrolling through, just throwing something on in the background on Netflix. You will not understand this movie at all, and you'll totally miss out on it. And that's what we need more of, and Marty Supreme was another perfect example of that. The movie presents and asserts its story, and you have to deal with it. It's sort of like Connie is there with you, saying, fuck you, you're on this ride with me, I'm in control, and you better learn how to deal with it. Like Romance Apocalypse later in the movie, it's a ride, you know, it twists and turns, and it just sort of jolts you awake, and you just keep expecting the movie to stop and let you go, and it doesn't until the very last moment. Especially when you watch it for the first time, you're like exhausted by the end of it because you have all these insane emotions running through you, like getting off a roller coaster. The last aspect to this genre of hyperreality that Josh Safdie and Benny have created is the racially conscious aspect. And people sort of might get a little wigged out by that. What do you mean? But they are explicit about it. And even in the script, Connie and Nick are running through a supermarket and Nick bumps into a customer that was meant to be an Asian supermarket. They are just very racially conscious, and the movie is diverse as New York City is. And I like that they're willing to showcase that through their art in this style. And even like in the prison scenes, they made a conscious decision to have Nick be the only white guy in those scenes except for the guards. The guard who sprays the mace in that scene is a real corrections officer from Connecticut. And there was a real blood leader in that scene who told the Safdies, you know, this isn't how a prison fight would go down. I would have guys here fighting and jumping in with me. The Jewish lone shop owner, he is a real shop owner, so there's really not even acting. And even like Crystal, she was basically unknown. She loved Robert Pattinson, so when she's playing a 16-year-old girl who's in love with Connie, played by Robert Pattinson, Gunnar, you believe it because she actually is crushing on him. To build the world of Good Time, it's New York, but to make it feel like New York, they would do things like the costume department would go and buy jackets off guys. Like the infamous red jacket that you see Connie wearing for a good chunk of the movie was just a jacket that a random guy in New York had that Josh Safdie decided to basically walk down the street with and go, hey, let's come to the production office. I'll give you $400 for that jacket. And that's why it feels worn in, because it was worn in. And then to buy another one, they had to go find that exact jacket, and it's a jacket with emergency flotation devices because it's meant for like dock workers. That's the type of thing that just gives it that gritty, realistic feeling and makes you feel like you are in New York, you know, because you basically are. I mean, the movie is just encapsulating New York. It's dripping with it, every essence of it. And Robert Pattinson, he would sit in a tattoo shop and listen to a tattoo artist from Queens talk, and he would just sit there and listen to him over and over and over again. People thought he was a weirdo because he's British, so he doesn't sound like he's from Queens at all, but everyone says they can't even tell. To the point where at Cannes, a famous actor who apparently is not allowed to be named, leaned over to the person he was watching it with and said, hey, I thought Robert Pattinson was supposed to be in this movie. And the guy responded, oh, he is. That is Robert Pattinson. That's especially surprising because this is 5 years after the last release of Twilight, where he's playing this soft, pretty boy. And just with the application of some pockmarks on his skin, he turns into this romantic psychopath that is totally unrecognizable as a person. The accent's just one very critical piece of that. Him and Benny would do things like go to like a car wash, and Benny would stay in character and Robert Pattinson would stay in character as Connie, and they would talk to people there.
We did like 5 days improvising just all around Yonkers in New York, just in character. We got jobs in a car wash and stuff.
You're kidding. You were washing cars?
Yeah.
With...
Well, I was more like kind of telling Benny. We were trying to do it in character.
You were supervising.
I was telling. We both got jobs, and then I was telling him to do it, and then Benny was kind of like in real life, like just snapping off people's windscreen wipers and stuff. I mean, it was really crazy.
And they went to a Dunkin' Donuts together and ordered in character, and also they would send letters to each other back and forth before the movie. And the writer of the movie, Ronald Bronstein, him and Robert Pattinson would talk as Connie and Nick, and they would get a feel for the characters, and they also would write these insane character bios for all the characters that went from the first minute of that character's life to the first minute of the movie. So even before the movie starts, you have full-fledged people being made. And that's why a lot of these actors like Jennifer Jason Leigh and Robert Pattinson felt so real, because they basically were real. Another great aspect of this authenticity were the masks that were used in the robbery. Those are real masks that were so effective that the FBI told the company making them to stop using them.
In 2010, he held up multiple tri-state banks, and the surveillance video hit probably every newscast in Cincinnati.
This is the mask used in that crime. It has been sitting at my desk now for about a week, freaking everyone out.
The whole newsroom's been talking about
it's unbelievably lifelike.
Buddy Duress, who plays Ray in the movie, who's dead, R.I.P., although he's responsible for the Safdies not directing anymore, we'll get to that. He's great, he steals the fucking show, but he's a real criminal. He was bunkmates with a guy who did those sorts of robberies with the masks. He wrote about it, and Josh paid him for those journals of his time in prison, talking about his experiences with a guy who actually did that sort of robbery. He's in the next movie I'm gonna review, Heaven Knows What, their first real movie as well, too. That was his sort of breakout role. So I'll be able to sort of compare and contrast what he's like as an actor until he died of a heroin overdose. It'd be like that. The part that I think really is the most hyper-real about all this is they shot it like it was stolen, you know, run-and-gun filmmaking, as Josh Safdie called it, where they would steal shots, and they would, even when they had permission to shoot places, they would act like they didn't. And it gives it this real criminal feeling. I'm in love with the idea of illegal movies, of illegal film. It's a movie about crime where some of the shots are actually like crimes. The ER scene, a lot of that was stolen, and they used like real people coming in on stretchers from car accidents. You can hear the screaming of real patients in the background. Another one of these stolen shots was when Connie and Nick are walking along in the police cruiser goes past him and turns around. They weren't supposed to do as much as they did. Like the cop wasn't supposed to drive along that road as much as he was because it was like a fairly busy area of New York. But he was a real cop.
I'm gonna pull back off, Mom. Just don't say anything, all right? Okay. Don't look at them. Don't be scared. All right. Let me do all the talking.
Hey, fellas, where are we going? Can I talk to you for a minute? First of all, could you take your hoodie off for me?
Wait, what did we do wrong?
Hey, you with the black sweatshirt. Yo, my man, turn around.
He's all right. We didn't do anything wrong.
Get back here. Go.
The Asian market scene, they shot like it was stolen, and the cop who's responsible for enforcing the permits was like, what are you guys doing? Like, you don't need to do this, you have the permits. But they kept to the stealing shots format, and I love that. And eventually, when I do movies, I want to do that sort of thing, because no movie should be illegal. Free film, free film. I'm gonna shoot in the TMZ, just kidding, or am I? Realism is that they use newscasts. It kind of reminds me of Paul Verhoeven in RoboCop. He uses sort of like every aspect of the media landscape. Newscasts, you use Law and Order, you use cops, and you use these TV shows playing to give it a real sense of New York itself is a character in the movie. The news is actually like broadcasting images of Connie Nikas, and it gives sort of this omnipresent pressure for him to avoid and stay in the shadows.
Now an update on last week's bank robbery in Flushing. Authorities are still searching for Konstantin Nikas, suspected of carrying out the robbery along with his brother. Nicholas Nikas was arrested near the scene after crashing through a plate glass window at the New World Mall. Today, the brother's grandmother is speaking out in an exclusive interview with New York One's Tyrlyn Wagner. She joins us now from Flushing with the details.
Well, that's right, Lewis. In a New York One exclusive, Agapia Nikas describes her complicated relationship with her grandsons. She took out a restraining order against Konstantin earlier this year after she says he threatened and stalked her. And she blames him for an altercation with Nicholas that left her with a broken arm.
I don't want to call him. I don't want to talk with him. I don't want because he's a brother.
They care. Every part of this movie matters. The guard that Connie beats the shit out of him and they dump acid in his mouth. And then he freaks out, which by the way, that was look at me, I am the captain now. That actor, it was him screaming his deepest, darkest fears in Somalian. And it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen in a movie, because if you've ever been on acid, you can deeply empathize with your face is just hurting from getting the shit beat out of it. Now there's cops shining bright lights and you're in the middle of a romance apocalypse ride with demons laughing at you. And it's just truly terrifying.
Hey, you awake? Hello? Hello? That's a little agitated. Hold on. Hey man, it's all right. It's all right. Relax. There goes that drug use, huh? Just hold on to his legs. Make sure you got his legs. All right. Relax. Yeah, let's restrain him. Relax. You're gonna be all right. Relax. All right, I got under his arms. Let me get under. Take your time. 1, 2, 3. All right. We'll put him on a stretcher. 3. All right.
His character is also done through them going to his apartment, and it just shows the intentionality that the Safdies put into their movies, where you can learn he has a daughter and he likes to watch the History Channel and just sort of who he is when he's not even there. The therapist, played by Peter Verby, is a real criminal defense lawyer. So that scene when he's with a criminal prosecutor and they're talking to Nick about getting Connie in trouble because they want Nick to snitch on him, they're both real lawyers. And Josh actually got arrested, and Peter Verby represented him because the police thought he was being shady in a car and dealing drugs. So he had a good time in jail for a little bit during the making of this movie. The color, I mentioned it was fluorescent, but that doesn't do it justice. I mean, you have, and especially as the movie goes and Connie loses control, it's just these wonderful reds and pinks and neon green. I noticed throughout the movie that as Connie would gain and lose control, red would sort of reach its tendrils and cover people. They were like obsessed with the lighting. If they could have motivated lighting at all, like just a small light on the bus, they would use it to full effect and blast it out everywhere. And that's fully complemented by the music. It sounds like Tangerine Dream from Sorcerer. When Connie and Nick start running from the cop, it sounds like a gunshot.
Yo, my man, turn around.
He's all right. We didn't do anything wrong.
Get back here.
the biggest termite in this piece of termite art. You want to take a step back, but the music keeps pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding. Big shout out to 1-0 Point Never and Iggy Pop at the end for the haunting, the Pure and the Damned song. There's a whole music video, because there's a whole Virginia subplot to the movie where Connie and Nick were supposed to go to this farm in Virginia. In the screenplay, you can see throughout the movie they're looking at farms, and you can see that in the music video, and Nick's like, he doesn't want to eat hamburgers, and Connie's freaking out, and you can see the hyena they made for the movie. They made like a real hyena. Apparently they paid a bunch of money for the CGI, because at the end, when Ray falls to his death and dies, he's supposed to be fighting a hyena that just pops out and attacks him, and I'm very glad they took that out. If you're curious about why they mentioned Virginia and why the Pure and the Damned music video even exists, that's why. My favorite part of the movie, and I think it's a lot of people's favorites, is the flashback sequence that Ray goes into. And I love the way he talks, and it's some of those banger quotes. Ray goes, "I was so goddamn fucked up, I don't even remember half this shit." And the way he says fucked up, there's just a lot of lines like that that are just so perfect.
And I don't remember half of it because I was so goddamn fucked up.
The flashback movie, well, it's like a mini movie within the movie. It shows Ray, and it reminds me a lot of Straight Time. He gets out of prison and then immediately starts drinking and selling that infamous acid. They sell it at an arcade. And just the editing in that sequence. If you want to understand the Safdie brothers condensed down to sort of 5 minutes, you just watch that sequence of Ray selling drugs, running from the police, and then eventually jumping onto the pavement, getting his face smashed in. When Ray gets his face smashed in, Connie breaks him out of prison because he thinks he's Benny. That was preserved in the script. In the script, it's even a fucking shock, because it doesn't tell you that it's fucking Ray until you get to the part where Ray wakes up. Because even in the screenplay, when someone's reading it, the shock gets them there. The opening credits they have tension built into them, and they remind me of the Psycho credits. Because the Psycho credits sort of are like a knife going forward, and that's a knife going back and forth, and that's like the good time. The styling on the letters goes like shing, shing, and you can see that in the opening credits when you see Nick's face all fucked up and he's first getting walked into the jail cell. They come together and sort of have these jagged edges. And it's just another great example of like no fat, because the story's still going on in the background. The same is true of the ending credits. They're calm when Nick's just sort of walking across the room and playing the game with, by the way, real disabled actors. They reached out to a real disabled acting crew, and Nick was staying in character the whole day. Love is the central theme of this movie, and the production company is called Romance Apocalypse, and the ride is called Romance Apocalypse, all about love. And it starts with Connie's love for Nick, who he does genuinely love his brother and thinks he's helping his brother out of a bad situation. It's for his own benefit, obviously, so he can use him in the bank robbery, but he loves him, and Connie, it's sort of his relationship with love. He thinks he's a dog, and that's why the people love him.
I think I was a dog in a previous life. In fact, I know I was. That's why they love me so much.
Crystal loves him, and the actress loves him, and he preys on that feeling. Jennifer Lee, she is a longtime ex of Connie, and she clearly loves him. He abuses that to get her to try and get her to pay the 10 G's to free Nick from Rikers. The Pure and the Damned both act from love. Nick, of course, being the pure and Connie being the damned. That is the central theme of the movie, and I like it because Connie's like a complete amoral sociopath, but he still has some love in him, and I don't know, there's just something beautiful about that. Love can conquer even a guy like Connie. And the movie itself is an act of love to, filmmaking in New York. The movie's just simply bursting with love. But sometimes that love gets out of whack. Elara Pictures, who the Safdie brothers co-founded with the writer of this movie, Ronald Bronstein, during the filming, Buddy Duress was intoxicated and took his pants down and asked a 17-year-old underage actor if he could stick it in while they were filming a sex scene. And Josh was filming all this, and he didn't yell stop when that sort of happened, and that's eventually led to the breakup of the Safdies. So if you want to blame anybody for the Safdies breaking up, you can blame Buddy Dress, but he's dead, so it doesn't matter. We got Marty Supreme out of it, so, you know, what are you gonna do? Overall, I love this movie. It's a 10 out of 10. It's Kino. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Check out Termite Art. Get your own termites running through you. They're good for you. You know, they hollow you out, but they give you something new in return. Like all these quotes from the movie. Khalif telling Connie, he goes, "You're gonna make me wait like a dick? I'm gonna go to the motherfucking bank."
Go to the motherfucking bank. It's gonna take me about 3 hours to get you to 15 G's. You wanna sit here waiting like a dick?
And Connie's saying, "I'm gonna go in that guy's house and take a shit."
Okay, I'm gonna go and take a shit in that guy's house.
There's just so many haunting and striking visuals and quotes, and just so many termites. It's overflowing with termites. You're basically diving into a termite mound when you watch this movie. So, you know, give it a go. Consume some Kino if you haven't. If you like Marty Supreme or Uncut Gems, you're gonna love this fucking movie. It doesn't get the credit it deserves because it sort of started that. I've been Schizo Sean. Check me out on Letterboxd, okay? And I'll see you next week from my review of the Safdie Brothers movie before this. Heaven knows what. I love you all, but, you know, I gotta get back to the asylum before they notice I'm gone.
So, I don't know that I've ever. I have not been a Twilight person, so I haven't like followed your life to the millimeter. But what was it that got you started in acting?
At the very beginning,